I'm going to begin by saying what Cynthia didn't hear. Amy Popovich, the place where we liaison into in the city, the DCAO, is attending this meeting. And she's going to come at some point. She's going to make a few comments, and then feel free to ask her any questions you want to ask her. I'll do a little intro, and then it's over to her and the trustees. Okay? All right. Call the meeting to order. Is there anything that needs to be added to the agenda at this time? Is there a motion to approve the April 22nd agenda as submitted?
I move to approve it as submitted.
Sharon,
I
thank
second.
Thank you, Cynthia. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda consisting of the March 25th, 2026 meeting minutes, the pending deposited gifts report, and the statistical report as submitted?
I move.
Thank you, Bill.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. When Amy arrives, we'll turn the floor over to her. Until then, we will just start working through the stuff we have to work through. Okay?
Good.
Friends report. Clay.
Good afternoon, everyone. No formal report today, but just a couple reminders. The upcoming sale, the spring sale, is 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of May, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the next meeting of the Friends, which will be a full board meeting, will be on Wednesday, May 6th at 5:30 at the main library. But that's all I have this morning, or afternoon rather.
I want to thank Cynthia and Janet for talking about our facilities improvement and expansion plan to both of the boards that you represent. Thank you. Over to Foundation.
Hello, I have no formal report today.
You're so quiet.
I have no formal report today. Does anyone have any questions for me?
You're good.
Thank you.
All right. Now would you like to introduce is he here?
Yeah.
Yes,
he's
okay.
right behind
Hello,
you.
Craig. How
How's
are
it
you?
going? So we have Craig Gilwalker, the Library Community Services Manager here at North Avenue, who will provide a brief report on what's going on at North Avenue since the last time you've been here.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. It's been a while since I've seen all of you. Hope everyone's having a great day.
Obviously, since I didn't even know. Yeah. You were in the room. Yeah.
I'm very silent. It's okay. But I do have a good bit of things to report from North Avenue. One thing I'm very proud of is our door count in the beginning of the year has gone up exponentially. We started the year with about 2,500 on our door count, and as of last month, we were at 3,500. So
Wow.
that's, give all the credit to my wonderful staff, our youth librarians, our library techs and the associate we have here. Very grateful for our team. We have 5 story times going on weekly now. 1 on Tuesday, 1 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, and then 1 on Saturday. We are currently doing tech one-on-ones as a replacement for computer classes, sitting down with the patrons. That's a me thing personally, and so far I've helped around 20 people when it comes to personal computer literacy issues. That's one of the biggest things that we're trying to tackle as a neighborhood, but I prefer doing it on a more intimate level because holding classes, people want different things versus just sitting down with somebody for about an hour or 2 a week and helping them, with their oddly specific problem, because it's an oddly specific problem. We have Ripple here, which is one of my favorite things about the North Avenue branch. We have several community meetings coming up in the next month. We have North Barton Heights coming up. We have Southern Barton Heights coming up and doing things, and Battery Park. Those are all different community associations within North Avenue. They use this meeting space to plan for the future of the community. and just plan for the future in their own communities. Right now, we're in works with collaborating with Smoky Mug on outside story times.
Okay.
So that way, parents can drink their coffee, eat breakfast. They have a little outside area. The owner is in full, he's in full collaboration with that. He loves the idea of it. And and we also have 2 book clubs outside of the, Richmond running. We have our teen book club, which is our teen library associate. They have their own book discussion on popular books that were turned into movies. So that's that's coming along, and this is the last month of what we call the North Avenue Readers Book Club, where we've gone through a series of classics. The last book is Haunting on Hill House, and the attendance for that has been around 5 or 6 people per month, which isn't a lot, but I mean, when it's just a local book club with your local communities,
And it's neighborhood.
it's all neighborhood people, which I truly enjoy. North Avenue is here to help make this North Avenue area better as it goes through business transitions and people transitions and family transitions. So that's all I have to report on North Avenue today, and I'm just happy you guys are here.
So I bet you'll take some questions.
Of course.
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
When you talked to us last, you were brand new as the LCSM.
I was very
Brand
green.
new.
I'm still very green, but I'm learning.
So can you just comment on your first,
Like
you started here, and I mean, your data certainly proves that.
Thank you.
But how have you enjoyed it? What are the things that you've learned, that you've liked? Comment however you want.
And I'll say North Avenue is a very special neighborhood. I live downtown. I've lived downtown my whole life, and coming here is still close to downtown, but it's close enough to where I can get here on the bus real fast. But once you get here, you're really in a historical community pocket of Richmond.
Okay.
I mean, one of my favorite things about this neighborhood is people are proud of the north side of Richmond. They're proud to be of north side, and I think the one thing that I want to do is help them continue that pride, whether it comes to their neighborhood, their family, their community. We're always going out to the businesses, being like, what can we do for you? How can we collaborate? How can we work together? Brooklyn Park has a series of block parties going on every
And
day.
it has changed
Oh, yeah.
oh my goodness.
Tremendous. And I've only been here since 2022, and it's changed.
Right.
It's a whole different neighborhood.
Right, I
since
could not
then.
agree more.
And if anything, it's been fun to work with the change. You can you can fight against it, or you can be like, oh well, how can we help you as much as we can? And the one thing I feel we could pride ourselves on in this branch is people just feel comfortable just coming in the branch, talking to everyone at the desk for hours, hanging out for hours. Like, oh God, I consider this a baby branch. Because our story times, especially our baby story times, they will fill out this room. We have to turn down people. And the occupancy in this room is 47. And and that's one of the reasons why we had to reach out to Smoky Mug. Because it's nice and we're just so popular, Mr. Richard just does such a great job with the babies and the families and getting them in here and making them feel comfortable. And if he's not here, we're all getting to know them. And I mean, before story time, say I'm getting coffee at Smoky Mug. Before story time, it's Mr. Craig, Mr. Richard, Mr. Craig, like at the Smoky Mug. And then, depending on when we come back, you'll just see a trail of strollers and families following us to the parking lot. As we go. It's kind of like a sitcom. I'm not even gonna lie. So yeah, no, I'm definitely grateful to be here, and I do love this community and this branch.
Oh, I love hearing that.
Yeah, very dearly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
Oh, and one more thing. We're getting a new projector this Friday as well. Yes.
Good idea.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I'm just so glad to see you reaching out in the community and trying to keep it alive. I grew up in Northside, went to Gnarl Elementary School, Northumberland and Lancaster Avenue, and I know this is a neighborhood.
It is.
And the fact that you're reaching out to Smoky Mug and all the places is commendable.
I mean, I'd say this neighborhood is more special than people think because it's we go around Richmond and so many things, leak out and so that. But North Avenue is very compact. It's very much, it knows its identity, and it's not ashamed of that in the beautiful way of it's an old school community. I mean, everyone in this community knows each other.
Yes.
It is impossible. I can't even wear headphones because I feel like I'll be offending somebody if they don't hear. They respond with, "Hey, Craig."
Okay, I didn't, that helps me understand the
Yeah.
area better. Yeah. Thank you very much. All right.
Yeah, we still have Northside reunion down Battery Park.
Yes,
Yes, and it's a big deal.
it is. It gets packed out. Those Northside reunions.
All right. Advocacy, Sharon.
No report today.
Okay. I do want to say that first, a thank you to Jen, who worked out the town hall meetings for us when it was appropriate. I think we got listed on 4 of them to talk about summer reading. That was a lot of logistical work, so we appreciate that. And if you will tell her, we appreciated it. I did District 2 on the 15th, and that's Councilmember Jordan. And Beth and Ben did an amazingly good job. And after Beth sat down from talking about summer reading, the next speaker, who was Ruth Morrison, who's the Intergovernmental Relations Director, stood up and talked another 5 minutes about RippleCon and how she had gone and her daughter had loved it. So you thought, I should have given her $5 for doing that. It was just a real organic, truthful, So our session went really, really well. Did anyone else catch any of the other sessions? Yes.
8th District and 9th.
That's true.
Yes.
You are our star.
So we had a surprise visitor at the 8th District. Reba doesn't call hers a town hall. She calls it a city council meeting.
Okay.
But Governor Doug Wilder showed up.
Wow.
And that was amazing. And she almost started crying because she didn't know he was coming.
Oh, wow.
She always has a large amount of people at her meeting.
Because it's Reva. Yeah.
But it was like 180 individual adults and 12 children. And one van of children, the van broke down. So the next day Reba went out and she always gives them all kinds of gifts and things. Then, and Scott, I and Heather, 2 of the ladies from my advisory board, they all joined us.
Oh, I love it.
And then I
love
left and I went over to Mike Jones's event. I've learned a lot since I've been on the library board of trustees. I know not to step on anybody's toes. I don't want anybody to be upset with me. I've had a nice relationship with Nicole Jones up lately, and Scott was there, and Danielle. What's Danielle's last name from Westover Hills?
Tarulo, she was the manager from Westover Hills.
And she spoke about they were swapping plants that Saturday. And Havard Brooks, he spoke
He
and
talked
told them
Dia-
about, I can't say it,
Dia de los Niños.
yes.
Coming
So
up this
that is
weekend.
this Saturday at Broad Rock Library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, after these meetings, Cynthia sends me an incredibly detailed report. I have learned so much. So thank you for that.
I was able to attend Counselor Gibson's meeting last week at
Oh, great.
John Marshall High School.
Okay.
And Craig was there.
Yay.
And,
Good job.
Lewis.
And we did a presentation in between. Yep. So
Okay, so we've hit all 4. Good. Yes. Excellent.
Cynthia, does Governor Wilder live in the 8th District?
No, he came to, how can I say, his gratitude of being a friend with Reva.
Oh,
He said some other things, but I won't speak on those things there. I didn't know who he was. Shirley Pegram. She's on the advisory board with me, and he had this big gallon hat on. And Shirley was like, "Is that Governor Wilder?" And I was like, "No." And then when he took the hat off, I was like, "That is Governor Wilder." And he's 95. 95.
And he had his cowboy boots on.
Yep.
He's sending a message
on.
here.
Yeah.
Sending a message. All right. So we're gonna move on to policy. Emily is sick today. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Scott talk about 2 policies which have been amended. Ask any questions you want of him. If we feel ready during new business, we will approve those 2 policies. And I will say, if we choose to approve them, you know, doesn't matter to me whether we do or not, let's do the conscientious thing. We will have 100% updated all of our policies. And that's very important in these turbulent times. So, the other thing Scott will mention, what he and Emily have been working on, is how we're going to be updating the strategic plan to include our facilities improvement and expansion effort, because we want to be all aligned with what we're doing. So we'll talk methodologically about how he's approaching that. So over to you, Scott.
Okay. If you recall, last summer we visited all of the policies. Emily and I had a task force and we reviewed them all. One that she had concerns about or questions about was the library card renewal and sign-up policy, concerned about identification, and then also computer usage. So we were doing it at one time. We were doing this computer use library card, which we would allow people to use to get on the computer. So that was. We need identification for that, and we've had just a variety of challenges with enforcing that and keeping that going. So what I've done is I've removed that library computer use card from the policy, kept the policy the same, and we created a computer guest pass. So we changed it from a card to a pass. So people who need to come in the library for short-term use of the computer can get a guest pass. We print that out. That allows somebody to get on the computer for 60 minutes and use a computer. If somebody needs to use a computer on a consistent basis, they need to get a library card. So we're going to request that they get a library card. Those are essentially the 2 main changes from the library card policy to the computer guest policy. So the computer guest pass is a new policy that institutes this guest pass. It removes the computers from the library card usage. So those were the minor updates to it. It seemed to satisfy, or it seemed to address Emily's concern over allowing people to get to use the computers in the library if they didn't have their identification, or they weren't here, or they're just here for a short term. So that's how we solved the problem. And I've worked with staff since that time to kind of put it together, test it, and this is what we came up with.
Do we
Scott,
have questions on the policy changes?
Sure. Any information you get when you give someone a guest pass, or is this totally just, here you go?
Yeah, they just come in and say, I need to use a guest pass in 60 minutes. Usually for printing or things like that. If it's something that they need more, like they're going to say, like, well, I'm coming back tomorrow, I need to come back. We'll be like, we'll recommend to get a library card. But this will get them started, and then we'll transition them to a permanent card.
Okay.
So I have a practical question, because it happened to me long ago when I was an employee. People take tests on the library computers. Mm-hmm. And how do you handle it if the person says they're allowing me 2 hours to take my test?
Yeah.
And the pass is for 60 minutes.
So we didn't put anything about renewals in there or restrictions on it, so staff can renew it if there's a need like that.
Okay.
They can make
a special case like that.
Yeah, we're going to take care of that in the procedure. So if something pops up, then we'll address that.
But you're not keeping track of the people.
Well, we'll keep track in terms of, like, you come in today, then I see you tomorrow, I'll be or staff sees them tomorrow, that's how we'll track it down. We pretty quickly recognize the folks who
Yeah.
don't want to get a library card, or, most, I would say 9 out of 10 people, they need a temporary get on real quick and get out. They're traveling. They just want to get on the Wi-Fi and print something off. That's a lot of what we do. Surprisingly, we've had less of this test taking stuff that we used to have. It used to be like we would proctor things all the time. There's a lot less of that, because I think what has happened is there's more like online learning, and so there's now more platforms, and so they don't need us to proctor them, because all of that electronic stuff is usually set up with the students. Sometimes there's people who need, I don't know if we still do the driving academies, if those are still going, like if you get a bad speeding ticket and you want to work off some of your points. That was one thing that we had all set up, but I think that's kind of gone away too. It's more like they authenticate people, and the online learning has really transformed in a way it was when I was working the desk or you were working the desk. So. But this guest pass gives us the kind of the freedom to like negotiate and manage. It's a little bit less restrictive, and it doesn't put a card in somebody's hand that they carry around and they can use. And
No, I think it sounds great.
Scott, on the guest pass, out of curiosity, the 60 minutes, is there anything that actually clocks that and deals with it?
Computer does.
Do it. Okay, it
Yes.
is. So it would, in Janet's case then, if somebody knows they're doing a 2-hour test,
Right.
to tell them in advance so that it would not shut somebody off in the middle of testing. And
yeah, we have a piece of software that integrates with our online catalog. So it bolts onto the computer, and it greets you. It tells you what the computer policy is. It meters the usage. It controls the printing. So if you need to print something, you put money on your account, and it just interfaces. And so one of the features of it is a guest pass, and libraries across the country use the guest passes for temporary usage when you have folks that are passing through. And so that's what we've adopted.
Okay, ready to move on to the next? So Scott, talk a little bit about what we're doing with the strategic plan.
So let me back up. For the e-card, can juveniles get e-cards?
They can, I believe I think that's a good question. So they're online, and I believe they can, yeah. But then those have to get converted into regular library cards. So.
Okay. How does that work? When, at a certain age, your parent has to sign you up. Is there a restriction on the e-card? Like, do they have to show proof of age or something?
When they come in to get a library card, but we're taking it for granted that the parent, we're taking it that the parent is overseeing their internet usage. So if they're signing up for things online, that's the parent's responsibility to make sure that they're monitoring their computer usage. So that's how we handle that.
So there's nothing on the e-card that says age or anything.
Not
like
to
that.
my knowledge.
I'm just thinking some materials parents might not want their children to get their hands on.
Yep, and so we definitely trust the parent to oversee their usage of the computer and their usage of their library card.
Okay.
Other policy questions?
I mean, it's never been a problem, has it?
Nope.
I know.
Nope.
Hopefully
The
it
one
never
thing
will.
The one thing we did add there is we want people to convert those cards, those electronic cards, into permanent cards. So you can sign up for an electronic card, and then within 3 months, we want you to change it into a regular card. So that's when we would definitely inspect. That's when we verify ID and age and make sure everything is correct. So I would think it'd be a very limited problem.
And when a child turns 17, does that card that was signed up by their parent automatically convert to them, or they have to apply for a new card, or how does that work?
It would just transfer into a new card. Yeah.
So we will vote on this at new business. If there are no more questions, I don't want to cut out questions. Feel free. Scott, I'm going to ask you to pause on strategic while I introduce DCAO Amy Popovich. we get to work with her on a regular basis. She's come to all of the libraries. I saw her 2 weeks ago in front of council fighting for our budget. I'm just so happy that you're here. And I wonder if you'll say a few words, and then if the trustees have questions, if you'd be willing to take a few.
Absolutely. I'm not guaranteeing I have all the answers, but happy to hear the questions. And not just because commenting just a little bit on this last question. I was just at Main Library this morning talking with Beth about a book for my son and about age appropriateness. And she was just talking about, I think, Scott, what you're saying, it's in partnership too with, our library team on their knowledge of where different books should be and what sections they should be. And so interestingly enough, we were just talking about that this morning. And so anyway, our library team definitely works hard to say where would these books live and what would be the most appropriate sections to help folks. So yes, I'm Amy. Well said, Chris. Popovich. I used to be Jones and then inherited Popovich, so to spice things up a little bit. I have been in this role almost a year, which is hard to believe. And then before that, I was with the health department 15 years. I'm a nurse, so worked at VCU for a couple of years. Oh, microphone, yes. It was like the beginning, working at VCU. And then the health department, actually, I've been to North Branch a couple of times, but I was here when I worked at the health department to do some of the screenings that we've done. So been here in lots of my roles. I've lived in Churchill for 20 years, so it was not, I won't ever say I'm from Richmond, but I will say I've spent my adult life here in Richmond. And so it's been really fun to get to be in this role when, my kids are in RPS and they've done Parks and Rec after school. And I've spent plenty of time with Beth when my kids were smaller. Like, oh, okay, how do we, let's go to the libraries. Here's the time to get to be together. So to then be able to be a part of the team that strategizes and builds systems on how we can do this work better and do it together, it's been such a privilege. So yeah, that's a little bit about who I am. Of course, Scott and I have gotten to spend lots of time together in this last year and really thinking about how we do human services together as well. So, for example, just next week, we're talking about what are all the children and family work that we do across all of our health human services work, and how do we make sure, the youth work that we're doing in our libraries connects to our justice-involved youth and connects to our parks and recreation. And so, I've been really excited to get to do more of that. So, did I cover everything?
You did a good job.
Okay.
Questions? Let
Okay.
me start to give you a little
Go ahead.
time to think. Okay, this is a very different role for you from being involved with health to all human services, to have a medium-sized team to having a large team. What parts of the year have you liked the best?
Yeah. Well, it's been interesting coming to human services work and knowing some of my predecessors and thinking about what skill sets and experiences would be helpful. And actually, coming in, so I consider myself a public health geek. That's really how I kind of approach a lot of this work. And that's actually been really helpful to think about human services. So we think a lot about prevention in public health and sort of 3 parts of prevention. What's the primary prevention? The way that we're thinking about preventing a thing before it even happens. So, for example, one of the reasons I was Main Library this morning was our gun violence prevention work. The primary prevention work you all do and libraries does and Parks and Rec does to say, hey, how are we having really engaging and meaningful experiences for youth outside of school? That's a really important piece. And then there's secondary prevention. Like, okay, if someone, for example, has a family member, someone has been involved at some point in the justice system, how are we preventing any more from happening? And then tertiary prevention being, okay, someone is already justice involved. How do we really make sure that their experience there really helps them have the opportunities and the growth to make different choices when they're released? So that's just one example that's not connected to health and chronic disease that has translated actually the model pretty easily along how do we do that. I'm also just, it's the way my brain thinks is systems and big picture, with people at the center. You know, how are we partnering alongside our community? A lot of the work I did at the health department, had the privilege of helping to start clinics in our public housing developments and start our community health worker work here about 10 years before other entities were having community health workers, and they've been here in this library. Scott's always been a partner for all the things health. But, you know, we use this phrase, social determinants of health. What are all the things that make up the health of a person? And the human services that we offer at the city, just like the work of public health, really help to support that. I was at our financial literacy fair this morning, led by the Office of the Treasury. But, you know, someone needs to know and understand how finances while they're building their workforce, you know, while they're building, you know, these other aspects of them. So, you know, to answer your question, I wasn't sure how it was going to feel a year ago, you know, stepping into this role. I did my own discernment process, which we could have coffee and I'm happy to tell you about. But really thinking about how the skill sets and experiences have been really helpful. I think the other last thing I'll just add is it also gives a framework. So public health is full of data. For example, someone might say, where do you go and how do you decide where you go? Well, the CDC has something that they call the Social Vulnerability Index that gives a rating to every single census tract. So you all may know this. Zip codes are larger geographic areas. Zip codes are smaller. And in the city, since we don't have any zip code, I don't think we have any, that just touch Richmond, the census tract gives us better information. And we can use that mapping to say, let's use the data to know why we're going to office a service in a particular place. Why are we going to do that? And then we have a framework for that. Instead of saying who's the person with the most money or the loudest voice or the thing that we care about today, how do we really build in that structure and that framework for how we approach our services? So that's been also really helpful.
Thank you.
Maybe that was too long.
And I will say, I asked to speak with Amy after she joined, like she'd been on the job for 3 days. And she immediately said, so that open to input as part of the framework for making decisions. I was quite impressed with that. Thank you.
So which departments do you oversee?
Great question. There's 6 right now. So libraries, parks and recreation, social services, justice services, Office of Community Wealth Building, which is workforce development and some financial literacy, and then a department called Department of Neighborhood and Community Services. That one's a little unique. It's a network of small offices that focus on what we would call the priority populations. We say priority populations on purpose. We don't say vulnerable populations or marginalized at risk. We say priority because those are the populations we're prioritizing. Those are populations like our aging population and disability. Those are equity and inclusion work. That's our substance use prevention work, our gun violence prevention, homeless services, children and families. Okay. I think that's most of the offices. So those are very small teams that really focus on partnership coordination and policy work.
That's a lot.
I was going to say, did I hit everybody? Did I get everything?
That's a lot.
Yes, there is a lot that we do for our humans.
I'm hearing you talk about like neighborhood communities. Okay, with the Richmond 300 plan, trying to get rid of all emissions and things. I'm thinking communities, you're looking at communities in terms of them being, certain communities being deserts of a sort, like food deserts. Well, many communities are library deserts. So, I would appreciate, y'all would look at it, as far as that's concerned. Libraries are a necessary part of our community. And if people are expected to walk and ride bicycles, it needs to be accessible to their communities. And we need to think of alternative ways of putting libraries in those communities, because believe me, they're not going to give us a big plot of land, to build anything, but under the buildings and the spaces allotted for the businesses, wherever a new community is coming up, how are you going to fit this in? Even the rec and park spaces, things like that. But we need to look at it in terms of library deserts. And I know I have a niece whose job it is to use the GPS satellites, and she's mapping out pharmacy deserts up north, Northern Virginia in neighborhoods. So it can be done, who has access and where do we need access? And, that's something I would appreciate being
Yeah.
done.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up. It really is in partnership with you all. You all are setting the strategic direction. You've identified your 3 libraries, of course, plus main library. You're getting your engineering assessments done. I know Chris has met my counterpart. There's 4 deputies that cover the sort of different areas of the city work, and Sharon Ebert is the deputy for housing and economic development. We share office walls, and we have a secret code. No, we don't. But we see each other a lot. And so this is, really, I wanted to come today and happy to continue to come so that we can really work in that partnership, as the board's direction of, hey, let's really focus on these 3 buildings and how we either renovate them, add on to them, build new. And we certainly have talked about the desert in South Richmond. You may be aware of the Mayor's Thriving Pillars. There's 7 of them.
Right.
We're connected to multiple, but neighborhoods is one of them. We're really starting those assessments. I mentioned we're doing the children and families next week. We will also have that same neighborhood assessment of where are the CDC would define it, at-risk neighborhoods and census tracts, and then looking and overlaying what are our services and what are our amenities. And I think those are helpful distinctions because, when someone comes to Southside Plaza for social services, for example, or to pay their finance bill, they're thinking about a service. And when I used to give vaccinations, a vaccine, but when you come amenities, that's where you think about libraries or parks and rec centers, and really kind of doing that assessment, in concert with you all. I'm really excited about your library mobile van and getting that online, because I think that will be another important tool that will definitely make sure that there's access to pulling up in front of a Parks and Rec space or any one of the buildings that you want, that you all kind of determine and the team determines as part of that mapping too. So I know that South Side in that particular area has been identified. Mobile van will be a great strategy to go into some of those deserts. And then Scott and I have been in conversations of like, okay, what's the amount of space you actually need to put up a library and how to do that too. So I think there's kind of a multimodal strategy that you all have talked about, which I think makes a lot of sense in trying to address those. And I think between the van and looking for a Southside site and then addressing those 3. But if you all say, hey, well, there's another strategy as you continue to process, we certainly see this as iterative and ongoing. Yeah.
I mean, you phrased it, you say the library is looked at as sort of an accessory, so it's like,
The engineering assessment, yeah.
maybe more thought needs to put into the services we provide. I mean, the notaries, blood pressure, tax help at tax staff, we provide services. We're not just a frivolous accessory over there. We're not the purse you carry. We are, the contents, everything you need,
Yeah. Yeah, I've had the privilege of being here myself doing those blood pressure checks. So absolutely, and Narcan, and actually I got to know Scott in COVID, again, working for the health department because of all those vaccines and saying like, all right, Scott, how do we partner and where do we connect? So yes, absolutely. And that will be part of that neighborhood assessment too, is where are building spaces and then what are those services and amenities that the community needs and wants, and how do we partner that together? I mean, a great example has been the naloxone vending machines. You all know that there's one at the East End Library, for example, and 3 more coming to other libraries. Just one example of how do we partner with other city resources. We procured and purchased the vending machines through a different funding source. As far as I know, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, there wasn't any cost to the library at all, even the install, right? We didn't charge, but that partnership, right? There's so many ways to think about what can the city offer and how to support, and you all, and then vice versa. What do you all as the board say? Hey, here's a couple of our key priorities, and how do we have our team support that? Like I know that, for example, when you met with Sharon, that team has spent time and effort really thinking about, okay, where could a library work? So again, it's that mutual partnership that we'd love to continue and build on.
Because I look at things like, in inclement weather, although we're not a designated, place, people come to the libraries to get warm, so they are needed in every neighborhood. Every neighborhood has somebody who needs to get warm. Some children who need some cool inside places to go, I mean, let me get a tear here, but,
Yeah.
They are necessary places,
Yes.
and they must be accessible to all Richmond residents.
Yeah. Love it. One of my favorite things is discovering. Oh, I'll get
No,
your
no,
question.
no, no,
Just
go
that
ahead.
library leads are not called library branch managers, right? Am I gonna get this right? Library and community services manager.
Yep, right on.
And that's so intentional, of course, by you all. That really that role lives out what that looks like. Like I think the first time I met Danielle at Westover Hills, she was like, "And next week is the Renaissance Festival." I'm like, wait, what? You know. And so there's going to be some kind of version of that. Sounds like she's on the hook for because it was so successful in the fall. But you know, I totally have seen that model. You know, the community-based approach, even in infusing that in the titles of the way that you all have led for each branch.
So the question that I have, there's a big homeless population that focuses on the Lothian Turnpike and
Yep.
Carnation.
Yep.
And I also noticed a lot of homelessness near Southside Plaza. And you have a vending machine there. The first time I noticed it, the glass was broken. The next time I was curious. I said, let me see what I can get out of the vending machine. So I was trying to get, it wasn't the Narcan. I can't remember what it was I was trying to get. And I
Wipes or
could
some of
see
the
it
other-
was wipes.
Mhm.
And a sanitary napkin came down instead. And I said to myself, this is why this vending machine is being vandalized. Because maybe somebody is trying to get something that they really need out of the vending machine, and then they get frustrated and they break it, the glass up. So I know it's well lit and it's on the side of the Department of Social Services, but to me it's kind of scary for us to put it in the library or near the library. That was my concern about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. That did happen once. So we've had 3 vending machines, one at Marshall Plaza, one at East End Library, one at Southside Plaza for, if I do my math right, 10 months each. And when we placed, it was new. Within the week that we first placed Southside Plaza, the glass did get broken and we replaced it. And it hasn't been broken since. So that's our incident report on our 3 vending machines is we've had 1 incident and the glass broke and we replaced it in the 10 months. So, and I'm happy to provide with you all. We also keep track of the number of supplies that are used. Was that going to be your question?
I was wondering how.
Yeah, so I'm happy to say I don't have that.
Is it getting
today,
used, right?
But yes, we're refilling those things regularly, and it isn't just naloxone. So it's naloxone, but it's also wipes,
Toothbrush,
some hygiene
things
kit
like that,
needs too. Yep. Just trying to make sure those things are accessible. But if you notice a machine isn't working, we want to make sure that it's working and the buttons are working. There's a lot around vending machines of how much information do you collect on the front end. You could ask someone, what's your age and where do you live? We just have them put in their zip code. So you basically press if you want English or Spanish, your zip code, and then you pick whatever you want, and it's all free. So yeah, and I mean, happy to follow up with Adam, but my understanding is there hasn't been any incidents at the East End. But we do intentionally choose and work with the team on the ground of where it should be placed, and it's all outside the building, so it can be accessed at any time, but that way it doesn't pull on any library staff time. It's the neighborhood community services team that refills the vending machine. Library staff doesn't refill the vending machine. But because it's such a neighborhood-based place, when you look at the map of where overdoses happen, that's where the Broad Rock Library and the East End Library and Hull Street is the other one, I think. That's where you all are intentionally located in places where people are and where they might need support in any of those number of things for the vending machine. So, but yeah, if any of you have experiences of something not working, definitely let me know. I think there's a phone number on there. Yeah, and we'll continue to keep our eye on incidences. But fortunately, yeah, there's just been one so far.
Any other questions? You are very welcome to stay for the meeting.
Thank you very much.
If you have other things you want to
I
do.
Speaking of the budget, so glad you brought that up. We have another session at 1 today. So we're close to them finalizing their budget amendments. None of them involve the library that I'm aware of, but I sit in the audience just in case something changes or I need to say something.
So we're keeping our fingers crossed.
Yes, because this year involves some additional CIP money for libraries.
Yeah.
So, but as far as I know and what's on the papers in front of me, that doesn't involve the library, so that should be fine. But I sit there to make sure we get to keep all of our human services stuff. So thanks for having me and accommodating when I could come and leave. But I'm happy to come back at any time. And I do communicate with Chris regularly, who gives the updates to not just strategic plan, but also the direction that you all are thinking too. So.
Amy, can I have your phone number, please?
Yes, you can. 804. No. I'm happy to. It's 804 904 9095. Kind of has a ring to it. 904 9095.
You're gonna do a song on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're partnering with Councilwoman Jones, and we can have a separate conversation but we bring everybody together. Our substance use response team, gun violence prevention, homeless services, and they've done some town halls with Councilwoman Jones. They've done some walks, and then we're doing some outreach. So
I was at Miss Jones. I call her Nicole.
Yeah.
At her meeting when the team
came.
was there.
Okay.
And I'm also in 8th district. So
okay. Yeah.
I'm the president of Broad Rock Advisory
That's
Board.
Great. Okay.
So
great. Well, and I can fill you in more too, just so you all know. So Southside Plaza building, it's on Monday night. Should be introduced to re-sign the lease there for 15 years. So want to keep thinking about how we'll use that space, and so we can talk more there too. But
because they did a lot of reconstruction and cleaning up of that building.
Yes, we're gonna do more.
Okay.
New carpets, new paint, new seal. Well, yeah. We're gonna do more. So yeah. So anyway, we can follow up. But great.
Well, in my 7 years on the board, I've never had the DCAO come to a meeting. So and let me speak for all the Board of Trustees. We greatly appreciate you coming and enjoyed it tremendously. So thank you.
Yeah. And happy Library Week.
Thank you.
National Library. Yay. Our communications team, if you haven't seen it, is partnering with Jen and with folks on really promoting the Spirit Days, and I think there's something different for 7 days in a row y'all are doing. And so every day there's different social media about that. Yeah. So we do really want to partner more and promote all of the things of the library, and I think that's grown a lot over the last couple of months. So we'll continue to do that. So thanks for letting me invite myself.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming.
All right, good to meet you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
for coming.
absolutely.
I appreciate it. Okay, back to strategic plan.
Okay, so at last meeting, Chris asked Emily and I to look at updating the goal 1, which is accessible libraries. And we've looked at it. I've done a preliminary draft that's in front of you. We're not going to vote on this time. I've got to make a couple of adjustments, and we'll come back next month. But one of the things that we're getting to is you'll notice that this is from 22 to 27. So we're nearing the last year of the strategic plan, so we need to start crafting a new one. So what I wanted to do was, this is an example of what I like to do for the rest of the goals, is just provide an update as to what we've achieved, where we were, where we're at, where we want to go. So I've just kind of done like a scorecard for this first goal, and this is a draft of it. So hope to probably do this with the rest of them so that we're prepared going into 27 to start crafting a new 5-year plan. So it's been, I think it's been really successful, because as I looked at this first goal, we've checked a lot of the boxes off and achieved a lot of things. So I think that's great. So I'll continue to do that, and we'll come back with a little bit more, with a more brief document that just kind of hits the highlights of what we've achieved with the strategic plan.
Okay, thank you. I am going to combine the chair report with the governance report. And the reason I'm doing that is because of the next sentence I say, which is that Garrett Sawyer is resigning from the library board. We have a policy that you have to do 3 or 4 if you miss 3 or 4 meetings in a row, then we speak to you, and that's me who speaks to you, and nobody ever wants that. His business is growing so well, and he is doing such an enormous job that he's on the road all the time in Washington, in Maryland, and he personally does not feel he can put the effort into the LBOT either by being here or by being active. We talked for a while and I finally agreed to accept his resignation. Now, I'm really sad about that because I just think he has been a great trustee. He really helped our advocacy. Sharon worked with him. That was a great team. He cornered council member Mike Jones when we first launched our advocacy and got an extra $100,000 into our budget that allowed us to do Sunday hours. And we had never done Sunday hours. So I personally, and I think we all feel really grateful for the, from 2020 to 2026 that, he did a good job. So if any of you want to communicate with him, I encourage you to do that. The next thing I want to talk to you about is what we do next. First, if any of you would like an exciting new challenge of being in charge of governance, email me. Now, here's what you got to do. You got to work with me to find a replacement for Garrett. We're never replacing Scott. And we've got to tackle the chair, vice chair issue. So I want you to think about this for a week and a half, which brings me to, I think I looked at my calendar. Let me see. When is a week and a half up? Next Friday, April 29th. If you're interested in becoming the chair of governance, let me know. I will work with you. I'll be helpful if you want someone to be helpful. I'll stay out of your way if you want someone to stay out of your way. But you have two immediate issues to tackle. So we got the talent here. Let me know. The second thing I would appreciate is if you have to Garrett expressed interest in the vice chair or the chair, if you could just let me know too, and do that by April 29th so that I have the full sense of what kind of options. If you're not interested in either of those, you don't need to say anything to me. But if you have communicated with Garrett in any way, if you'll do that. And then I will let Jonna know to send an email to all of you the week, or Scott, because Jonna's not here, to send an email out to the trustees based on what I learn, how we're going to move forward. So we won't let this just kind of linger. We'll make some decisions and I'll make sure you're informed. And if you don't like it, you can tell me, okay? Any questions or comments about Garrett or governance?
Garrett's great.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to finance.
Okay. First off, I think finance, the big thing is the budget. And as Ms. Popovich was just saying, the budget seems to be going through fine. I mean, from what we
heard
last
it
talked
here,
about.
yeah.
Right. I mean, we're not expecting any problems at this meeting and should move forward. So I don't think there's anything that I need to go into if that hasn't changed really since last month's meeting. I wanted to real quickly touch on the 2 pages in your the report there, one covering the operating budget, and the other general fund budget. And I should have talked to Scott about this after reviewing them, but I'm going to ask him a couple of quick questions.
Of course.
I'm assuming that the top 3 line, or the top second, third, fourth line variations are really because we have less overtime, more temporary, shifting around as far as where we are with overtime permanent at just 13%,
Right,
and
you're
yet
talking about,
the
61
temporary salaries at 400%.
Yeah, you're talking about 61,000 and 62,000.
2,000, yep.
Yeah, so those were lines that were cut
Okay.
in this year's budget, and
Okay.
so they're over budget because they were cut down from what was last year. The temporaries are over budget because we've had vacancies that we've not been able to fill for almost 9 months.
Right.
So that's really
Yeah.
been
I mean, it looks like it balanced when you get down to the personnel line. Everything looks good.
right.
So
as
but
it
there's
rolls
no,
down-
nothing that this leads. I mean, this will all sort of come out in the wash here in time. It's
Or the city will have to put more money in this funding.
okay. So it's
item
not
like
going to
they
it's
did
not
last
going to
year.
affect our operating
Right.
operations.
No,
Okay.
operating budget is on track.
Okay. Two other ones I'll quickly point out on that page. One, advertising. I'm happy to see advertising is over budget, frankly, because I'm surprised at how often you talk to people and they don't know of things that are going on in the library, the opportunities there. So I don't know quite how we went from 2,200 to spending 16,000, but my gut tells me it's well spent money. So, and then I'm a little thrown by the employee parking being a bit over budget at this point. I'm just sort of curious as to why that happens.
So it used to be that the city didn't provide parking.
Right.
So it's an enterprise account. So 2 years ago, the city provided staff parking in places downtown that had to be paid.
Right.
So I don't believe they funded it to the level that it needed to be funded. So that is why the parking is over budget at this time.
Okay. So it's nothing that we've expanded.
No, we haven't expanded. We have expanded. We added a lot of parking
Right.
to it because we weren't able to offer parking. We had to charge staff for parking. So if you work downtown, you had to pay a proportion each month, and then we had to rent parking spaces. So we still have to rent parking spaces, but now the city is budgeting for that.
Okay.
And so I don't know if they cut the budget this last year. It's just that we've also added people that beyond what they budgeted. So that's a budgeting error, just like the advertising was a budgeting error.
Okay.
So.
Couple quick questions. The law library, it's actually right on target there, but is that's sort of getting reconciled and the funds actually coming in now?
Oh, no. I don't know that they've worked out the funding for that. Yeah.
Okay. But nothing that we need to be concerned about because
No.
they just make up
That's-
until.
Finance is working on that.
Okay. Then based upon some of that, I had a couple quick comments. I just not really finance, but I thought I'd just touch on. I thought it was sort of interesting. The physical content is right at 51% of our circulation, which I don't know whether that's good or bad. It sort of is. And that,
Last month it was a little bit down compared to electronic content. That's the first time I've seen
First time
it
it's
kind
been
of
under,
dip, but
yeah.
it has been running about that 50-50.
it seems to be. So when we look at the numbers and we sort of get an idea of what's going on by branch, we really get a great feeling for it from circulation, door count, laptop usage, programs. What we don't have any feeling for is on that circulation 50% that's not physical materials. How much of that, where is that occurring? Like I look at it and say, okay, well, West End, 21% of the physical, Maine is 17, Belmont is 17, Westover Hills 17, Gidham Park 10, and then they just plump it down to 6, 5, 4, and 3 on the remaining branches on physical, okay? Which concerns you. Are we not reaching people somehow on that? And then you think, well, or are they just using electronics really heavily, more heavily than some of the others? Do we have a way to tell the breakdown of like primary card, the holder's primary library, when they're doing things electronically? Or do we
No.
not track that?
I don't believe we can tell where people are checking out electronic books from.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind about the electronic books is it's open all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not arguing. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it and saying, why do we some branches
Yeah.
clearly
You mean, so when you're looking at the branches, that's just physical books.
that's the physical, right?
It's only physical.
I know, right?
The electronic is aggregated all as one thing.
Right. So the question I had is, are we, and it sort of goes with another thing I had, which was printed material. In the last 6 months, we discarded 16.5 roughly pieces of material. And we added about 7,000, a little under 7,000, which is fine, assuming that that we're making that up, or still providing enough in the electronic that it covers that difference. I mean, you do wonder when you see going from
So
16.
if you roll down
by
to the
9.
bottom,
Yeah.
we've added almost 17,000 items. We've removed 18.5.
Yeah,
So-
I'm sorry, I didn't look at it from I looked at it from the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So does that actually, are we going to I guess what I'm asking is, are we shrinking our physical material, or are we actually keeping up in those 6 months was sort of an aberration?
So the goal for collection management
Yeah.
is for every book you put in, you take one off.
Right.
Our collection for the last 50 years has been not the best. We've had a lot of books that needed to be
Needed to go,
discarded,
right.
that were worn out, that have been loved to death.
Yeah.
So we've had a cycle where we've had really large discards.
Right.
Now that's created space on the shelves. You'll notice that our shelves are still pretty full.
Yeah.
So we do this, we're constantly running collection management reports that tells us like when something has circulated, if it hasn't circulated in 3 years, we evaluate whether we're gonna keep it on the shelf. So we monitor that pretty close. Our target is really not to exceed the number that we put in, so.
Okay.
That seems to be, right now, it seems a little bit high, but maybe there were some things that we caught up, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're, and then the final thing I have is the laptop usage. Once again, I'm just trying to make sure that we're doing the things to get those branches that have reasonable door counts, at least, if not the highest door counts, but that have, particularly the south side, far south side branches, and East End, that we're doing what they need. And one of the things I looked at was the laptop checkout. And when we started the laptop program, I thought, wow, this is one that is really going to be a boon to those areas. Okay. I mean, you think, okay, you're making a laptop available for free, and you're probably going to have the least economically strong library branches in their where they're residing are going to be the ones who use it most. And I looked at just the other day and said, wait a minute, West End is the highest use, followed by Westover Hills, followed by Ginner Park. And I'm sort of wondering why. Is it just nature of it, or are we not letting people know at those other branches?
Yes.
Are there obstacles to their using it? I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it just surprised me, because I would have figured those, if you'd asked me, I'd have figured almost in reverse order as to where it would be used. And I just wanted to bring it up.
So each branch has 12 computers. Some of those computers get checked out and don't get returned.
Okay.
Some of the computers, it's a maintenance challenge to keep them up.
Okay.
That was money, that kind of one-time money that we got. Remember, that was a grant. So this has really been a test. I can't say it's a huge success.
Okay.
Because the computers, mixed bag, keeping them going.
Keep them going. It's hard. Okay.
Also, we have so many computers in-house that people use.
Right.
So we can look. We've been kind of monitoring this in and out, but it hasn't. I would say it's not been a huge success.
Okay, just wondering, because I just wondered if we needed to shift anything. Do we have too many available?
Well, we don't have the
Some, not
resources
enough?
to buy more.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
do we need to take West End down to 10 and move 2 more down to? But
Well, I'd
but,
hate
but
to-
honestly, they don't seem to be using them in those other branches. I mean, I look at the count and think, even if you have 12, I don't know how long they're out.
I'd
piece,
hate to
but-
rob one to pay another.
I know. I just
so-
yeah.
Yep. I mean, people can place holds on them if they want them, so we can pull them from other
So
locations.
you do that.
Sometimes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So it's not a question of availability. So then it comes back to, is it a question of
Need or want.
Demographics.
well,
Yep.
yeah, but once
It's
again,
need,
why?
want, or demographics is what's driving it.
Yeah.
So.
And is availability known in those other branches?
Yeah, we make it known.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we can ask Chris about here, you know, what,
Or Craig.
how is that working out here? I mean, do people know about it in the neighborhood or?
So going off of what Scott said in terms of it's a test with patrons, I can say on my end personally that the beginning was nice. It was really good, and then the laptop would come in, and it would have to go back to IT for repairs. The laptop would come in, the laptop would go missing, and you know, it's a great idea. It was a great program, but
Always a good experiment.
Yeah.
when you know, people treat it as their personal electronic, and you know, not everyone's good with keeping electronics running in their home. A lot of the time, it's especially when it's something like a Chromebook for certain. You know, people get certain rough with them, they disappear.
Yep.
So yeah, and going back to it, actually back to the tech one-on-ones, half the time they would come back and be like, "Oh, well, I didn't know what I was doing. Can you just help me out on the computer?" So
Makes sense.
that was a good portion. People would check it out. They disappeared, they get damaged, or they would, and honestly, coming back and being like, "Oh, I need help with this one-on-one," and we're just getting on the library computers was probably the third biggest one out of the two.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that helped. I just, like I said, you look for things and you wonder why they different.
Yeah, I'm always looking at the numbers. Like, we're tracking well for. It seems like programs are down this year. It seems like circulation is fine. We're almost at 1 million right now, which is great. So circulation is still going up, and one of the main drivers is electronic. And door count is tracking pretty well this year. So I think there are things. Again, things are going up, things are going down. That's just the way it works. So.
But I mean, the things you look at, obviously, when you look at the programs, it's interesting. You can tell sort of the composition vary from how many adults are coming versus how many children are coming, things like that. And I didn't know how that factored into the books that are available versus electronic versus the computers and so on. So I'm just trying to get it.
Yeah.
Good.
Good questions.
Bill, did anything jump out at you on the computer use stats in the building?
The funny thing about no, it didn't strike me as odd. The funny thing to me on the computer use and the Wi-Fi usage, they didn't track exactly the way I would have expected looking at them. But then I thought, well, I'm not sure. I did wonder, how do we know Wi-Fi usage?
There's the system tracks it. So anytime anybody logs into the Wi-Fi, it counts it.
Okay.
So when you connect to the guest Wi-Fi, it sees you and you have to click that you abide by the rules of the Wi-Fi. That's how it counts it.
Okay, so
That's
people
my
are really
understanding.
using it. This isn't something they come in, the phones connect, and they automatically say,
No,
go ahead.
you have to click through.
You do have to click through the whole way, because
that's how it
I've never
counts.
noticed it, and I hate to say I've never used the library's Wi-Fi. Unless you're sitting there for a while, you don't normally need to, kind of a thing. So but no, I mean, things look. I thought it was interesting how strongly the programs were attended, particularly the South Side ones with some of the youth programs and things. You can see that's really working well, reaching out that well. And I guess I was a little surprised by how many people you're getting in consistently to Maine for some of those programs. I thought that was a very bright point for.
I think it's a combination of collection management, so weeding and replacing, making sure we have books on the shelf, programs.
But the programs at Maine get even though it's not anybody's really walking library as much, you get a lot of people.
Yeah, I think it's a destination. So people.
Yeah, I mean it's.
All right, any finance questions?
Anybody? Good.
Are we ready to move to Janet, facilities, Scott, their good news story?
Yeah, I think we talked about the Dewberry report last month. We have a draft. They're going to have their final version May 1st. We'd like to get a facilities committee meeting together to discuss it with folks and let people ask questions. We can do the combination of in-person or Teams meeting and look for that.
And I'll go through the specifics on that after Janet and Scott, yeah. But
Okay.
nothing happens for a while.
You mean once Dewberry gives the
Final version, yeah. And then the other thing was we've ordered the EV bookmobile, so it's.
And
so
that's huge. That is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
You said that's a long-term delivery. What?
It'll take a year.
About a year. Okay.
Yeah, it has to be produced and then it has to be upfitted so that it can has the stuff in it. But had a good meeting. Cheryl has had to leave, but we are ordering it through Fleet, and Fleet is going to take care of it.
Great. So let me just give you the next steps. Dewberry draft report, Scott and his team went over it. With every report, there are things you need them to do better. And so he sent that in. Dewberry will have their final report, and they've been really on time on May 1st. That is looking at our 3 libraries, Belmont, East End, and Westover Hills, and how to enlarge them from the about 6,000 square feet to the average they're supposed to be, which is 12.5. When Scott gets that report, after it meets his satisfaction, he will send a copy out to all of us. We will then have Dewberry brief us in a Zoom. We'll do a special meeting. It will probably be the week of May 4th. Ask every question you have. If after that Zoom you have additional questions, pose them to Scott. Scott will get Dewberry to answer them. At our May 22nd meeting, Janet will host any additional questions, because here's the choice. We vote unanimously to endorse the report, but if it's not going to be unanimous, we're not going to do a vote to endorse. Instead, we're going to answer, and I don't care which way it goes, but I think we march this facilities improvement and expansion together. So if we need more time, if we need to think more, absolutely fine. If we're ready to endorse the findings of the report, then Janet will call for a report to endorse. Does that all seem fine to you guys? We're
why a Zoom meeting for when Dewberry presents the final report? Why Zoom?
They'll come in electronically. It'll just the person. I mean, I can check and see if they can come in person if you want them in person, but I thought it would be easier for folks to just be on a Teams meeting.
Well, if they're going to show illustrations, designs, whatever.
Well, you'll have
can do
the
that.
report. That's the way we did it before. We just had the report in front of us.
Okay.
So
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't object to it. I just think in-person meetings get a different kind of participation than a Zoom meeting.
I can speak to them about it.
Are they local?
No, the person is in Maryland, and
that's
the engineer is in Dinwiddie. Well, we'd have to pay for it, so I mean
Okay.
that's no problem.
That's fine. If it's Zoom, then we will make it work.
Yeah,
We'll probably get it done faster with Zoom, as
Yeah.
far as schedules, I would think.
yeah, it's a lot easier for people to all come together on a Teams meeting, but or we can do both.
Okay. Moving to new business, unless there's any questions of facilities that we want to ask. Okay. New business involves us voting on the 2 policy amendments. So the first is there a motion to approve policy 05.01, the library card registration?
I'll move that we approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Next, is there a motion to approve policy 05.01.01, the computer guest pass as submitted? Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Go, Bill, go. How about a second?
I second.
Thank you. Can I have all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? You abstain?
Yeah.
Okay. We have now updated all of our policies, and we should feel really good about that. I don't know how to spell abstain, so I'm gonna have you
We'll take care of it.
do that. Sharon, not voting. Okay, anything else we wanna talk about? Then I'm adjourning this meeting. The next meeting will be May 27th. It will be at the main library. And I would